Hello, everybody. You're listening to The Reality Show Bros, an all new independent podcast from two reality TV podcasting veterans. I'm your reality TV obsessed host, Fox Van Allen, and joining me today is a man who has battled many kangaroos in his life, my co host, Lance Cartelli. Hello, Lance.
Hey, Fox, punch him twice.
It's good. It's good. I like the flavor, a little bit of flavor this week. We are talking about Deal or No Deal Island, which is a show that has no business being this entertaining, but it really is. And we're talking about season 2, episode 7, Snakes in the Grass, which is finally wrapping up the previous episode that left us on a cliffhanger with CK in the Banker's Temple, and it runs all the way through a second Banker's Temple. So we get 2 boots this week on Deal or No Deal Island.
Terrible.
Yeah, and the first one. A little bit of a head scratcher, although I guess I get it. But once CK makes that good deal in the Banker's Temple at the beginning of the episode, after a little bit more fireworks with Philip and Lete and everybody, CK decides that the person she can trust the least, the person she's got to get rid of, is Seychelle, which is just like,
a mind-boggling move. It makes no sense. Dickson was the obvious person to boot there.
Yeah.
You hurt the family. CK, for coming in this game, talking about how smart she is and everything, she is a terrible game player and just has energy all. And it was rough to see, and it made honestly no sense. But Seychelle went out strong, at least.
Yeah, I think in Survivor terms, this is like CK going full flip, going from one alliance to the other. And really, if she's
at the bottom no matter what. So
yeah, but if she's going to do that, there really aren't a lot of targets here available to her. Like, if you're not going to go after Dickson, I don't know why you would protect him, but whatever.
Yeah,
it's really between
you go after Dickson, then you take his spot in the family. Is the optimal move when everyone's turned against you, but she doesn't understand that.
So I guess it's between Lachelle and Seychelle, and it's Seychelle that goes. I'm not necessarily the best move, but there are plenty of terrible moves by CK throughout this episode. So
that's true.
Just, you're just getting settling into it.
We're getting a masterclass of just how to not play Deal or No Deal Island.
It hasn't been around that long, and yet players are still innovating new ways not to play the game. It's fantastic.
I do think
to say.
That is the nice thing, because Big Brother and Survivor have been on so long. You've seen people play terribly in so many ways, and you know what not to do. This is still so new that you're still kind of like, I get that it's similar to a lot of games, but you can see new ways of people just spiraling out of control and screwing up their games and burning it on fire, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. Probably didn't help CK's decision to have former members of her alliance just needling her throughout the entire thing. Like, it's just the ones who are safe, of course. Lete and Philip are the ones who are really, really leading a charge against her.
And it's just there's no point for these self-inflicted wounds at all. There's no point. Like, you could be a sore loser about how that last week's challenge went, and still made up and eventually gotten your comeuppance and everything, but it just made no sense. And I get, this is where the emotional play comes in and everything, but CK has come on saying she's a smart person, and it's just it's like you've never seen, never had a strategy bone in your body ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dr. Will, right after the Banker's Temple is over, he basically, says the same thing. They're all talking, and he mentions that, blowing up, being the person to blow up the game, you're the one who looks bad. And
once again, Dr. Will is correct.
Yeah. And she did look bad. I will say, not a good stretch from the whole cheating allegations, which are I'm over it now. Lete is clearly not over it, but I'm over it. I'm not really. But
the cheating out, it wasn't even we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
It had almost no bearing on the game, and it just it was such a dumb time to cheat. If you're gonna cheat, cheat at the optimal time. And this was the suboptimal time to cheat.
If you're gonna cheat, do it right, you know?
Yes,
Don't, yeah,
100%.
yeah. Don't be nothing but a cheat with a flat ass, baby. Don't be that.
It was a great way to go out, you know.
Yeah. I
Seychelle was never gonna win the game, but, like,
no.
you don't she has no not a physical threat, not a
Mhm.
strategic threat, but at least you know, we don't get enough people who will talk their shit, and so that was nice to see.
I think we may have gotten shortchanged on her. Like the more I'm seeing of her and like, the post game interviews and stuff and like the secret scenes and all that stuff that's like coming out since like she is a lot more like I think I may have called her like in one of our early episodes like our podcast episodes like a quiet player, and she's not quiet like
Not quiet.
quiet in the I meant quiet in the sense that like she's not getting a lot of like airtime, right? Like it's really going to the big players, and I think we missed out. Like she's interesting, and she turns some fun phrases. She does. So
Yeah, she was, like, pound for pound, one of the more interesting people. It was just not a lot of pounds, you know, we just didn't
yeah,
get a lot of her, but every time she was on the screen, she was saying something interesting or, talking shit, so that's what I'm all about.
yeah. So we lose her here, unfortunately, but the game goes on, and the game goes on in this excursion that we go out into. And I gotta feel like if you didn't like last week's excursion, Lance, because you didn't think it was fair, I gotta feel like you're gonna say the same thing about this week, right?
I think this was a little more fair, but, it
Okay.
wasn't my favorite not my
Well,
favorite challenge,
yeah. I'm
but
I'm
I like when they give them an opportunity. Like, you knew CK was gonna go for safety and
mhm.
everything, but I do agree where, like, the structure of the game just doesn't make sense where, you know, it's whoever is higher, but it's really the first person to get to 6. That's really what, like, all it came down to.
Well, that's actually not the case, right? Because it was CK's team who got the 6 cases to end the game, but Letty's 5 cases were higher because CK wasted one of her trips on a 0, and the other one was 500,000, and like none of them were even close to being that low. But very, very interesting here because CK's team totally could have won this excursion, which means CK's safe and all those other people that she like David and Dickson, who I guess like she's trying to work with now, like it would keep them safe. But instead,
Yeah,
like she just throws it all away to get safety for herself because she's in an alliance of one. CK's
yeah,
working with CK this week.
and Dr. Will was right again. Like, they should have just gone. Like, you should just be the first to 6. Like, that's all you really needed to do. Like, go like obviously you want to get some of the bigger ones, but like
Mhm.
just go for those shorter ones real quick. Get to 6 as quick as possible because you're still safe at that point.
Yeah.
So it just shows how selfish CK is and like how much she's not really thinking. Like, when we talk about the traders, Danielle is always thinking 10, 20 moves ahead. CK is barely thinking 1 move ahead.
Yeah. CK is, I mean, she's constantly sabotaging her own game.
Yes.
It's by one bad decision after another.
It's just like there's no way she wins this game. Like,
Yeah.
everyone is against her. She has had moves where that could kind of save her game, and she just isn't doing it.
Yeah.
So she's kind of just like she's the biggest meat shield that there is right now for
Yeah.
being such a small person.
I don't think she's gonna win the game, but I'm not necessarily like I think she's got a shot to making it to the end, to like the end game part, like the final four. And I think the reason why is that like she's not really she doesn't feel like a threat to win the game. Not that it's like a jury decision, but if there's like a competition out there where she's got to run or swim or climb or whatever the heck they're gonna have to do with this final four, I don't think she's going to be built for that, compared to like if David's there or Philip's there or Parvati's there or Lede's there.
But we've already seen that Parvati has already, you know, put out the olive branch and tried to, like, you want to get her into the family as a number now, and
Mhm.
she is looking for anybody to work with. So that's just like a veteran, smart survivor move to now get this person that has burned every bridge, get them on your side at least as a number, because eventually Parvati is not going to be safe. I
Yeah.
think, you know, she's due for how many times she has been safe. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and that's she's going to be a glaring target, once she is not safe, and it's going to depend on who is that person who's going to be making the decision. The reason why I thought you might think this challenge was a little unfair is based on the choosing of the team captains, where it's Lete because she won last time, so let's see if she can win again, and CK because she was in the bottom and the bankers. Like, not don't hate that CK got some power here because she was on the bottom. It's kind of a throwback to season 1, where they had a similar, not entirely similar, but Aaron got a hold of the banker's ledger, based on being the guy who was at Temple the night before. So
I love a good old schoolyard pick though, so that didn't really. I get where you're coming from, but
yeah,
I was more focused on who's going to get picked last.
yeah.
And things like that, because that always, to me, that I always find that interesting.
Yeah, and one thing I don't find interesting is having Lete in power for the 3rd week in a row because she's so bad at wielding it. It's not fun to
Yes.
watch. Like, I gotta say, like, I mean, we talked about CK in that Banker's Temple, like, making mistakes and like just not being a great player, but like, you got to put some shame on Lete too, because Lete's the one who trusted CK enough to put CK in that position to play the banker.
Well, it's been, you're right. Like, for having this much power, she should be in a much better position. And CK turned on her, and then she
Mhm.
made this dumbfounding decision to not put Will up against the banker.
Mhm.
Like, that was just such a bad decision. Like, you might get somebody's word, but come on, like, you can't take somebody's word with this much money on the line for somebody, like, to think that David would take out his number 1 or number 2 alliance member is just crazy. It's so
Yeah.
dumb. And I had such an issue with that, and with Will being okay with it. I'm sure maybe in an extended version he wouldn't have been okay with it. But
Mhm.
I think from a number like standpoint, it was a 50-50 shot for him no matter what. 50-50 against the banker, and 50-50 I'm either going home or Dickson. And so I understand from a risk assessment thing that Will, either way it's 50-50, so like
Mhm.
it's a little bit less of a risk and
Yeah.
everything. But it just made no sense to me from Letty's standpoint to put David up there, knowing like there's no way you can trust that he's going to save Will. Like, that was so frustrating to me.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't, it's Deal or No Deal Island is still a new game, and we haven't talked a ton of like hardcore Dondi strategy here. But I think if you have the power and it's up to you, like, you really want to put one of your teammates in the face the banker, because it is a crapshoot there. It all does come down to probability and chance. But if you're playing the banker, the worst odds you're going to have are 50-50. Like, as long as you play it through to the end, like, you could take a worse than 50-50 deal if you wanted to. I don't know why anyone would, but like, the worst case scenario, if you're playing, is that 50-50 shot. And you might have a chance, like I said last week, to have like a 2 out of 3 shot of staying, or a 3 out of 4 shot of staying, just based on how the case is open. And that way it's someone that you're working with, and if they win, they're going to do the right thing. And once again, like, after getting like skunked by CK here by giving her the power, now all of a sudden Lady's giving it to David, who she's not working with and shouldn't be trusting. I don't get it. And that's like why she's just she's playing a terrible game, Lady is.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating. And then just the way they edited it, like where everyone was kind of okay with it. Like, I have a hard time believing Dr. Will was okay with it.
Yeah.
But like the way they edited it, it seemed like he was fine with it. But like, I think Dr. Will knew he was done. Like, when when it ended up being a good deal, he was the only one that didn't stand up and
Mhm.
celebrate. Like, he knew this was the
Yeah.
end. And like, I think anybody with a head on their shoulders realized Dr. Will was not surviving this one, which was such a bummer because he's been amazing. And for him to retire, we'll see, from reality TV, it's just like, it almost killed the whole season for me. I
Mhm.
loved watching Dr. Will that much, so I was severely disappointed in how it
Yeah.
all turned out. But I was, you have to enjoy the journey and not the destination.
Sure. Sure.
So I really enjoyed Dr. Will this season. He gave us a handful of episodes that were really good. So, but I was so frustrated and annoyed and sad, and all the steps of grieving and everything.
Well, he was really dealt a tough hand in this season. Not just coming in as a reality TV veteran, like someone who, is known for being, basically the start of Big Brother strategy. Like Big Brother wouldn't be what it is without Dr. Will. And with all this experience and a certain kind of charm to him, as narcissists tend to have.
Well, he came in guns blazing too,
yeah.
which is never like going to help.
On
But
episode 2.
Yeah.
That's the other problem.
He had good strategy, but like the problem is you just have these chaos agents in CK and Letty and these other people that just are just not on that level. And so that is the biggest, and that's why people in like Survivor and these kind of games, they want to get rid of the people that are erratic because you don't know what kind of decisions they're going to make. And it just makes it that much tougher. But I think Dr. Will knew that he didn't have a long game,
right?
Just the way he plays and everything.
Yeah,
just the cards against him with the family being in there, Parvati being in there, and things like that.
Yeah, he went into this game knowing that he's going to be a huge target, and and he just kind of leaned into that, not like necessarily like trying to make his target bigger, but just like acknowledging that, like when in that challenge where he raised his hand to go first, right? Like when there were ranking threats, he put himself out there as number one. And just watching a little bit of the Boston Rob after show of Dondi Island. Dr. Will, it's all part of Dr. Will's plan. Dr. Will wanted to go out there and just embrace who he was, because like he knew that there wasn't going to be a way to hide that.
You have to lean into it, and he did a good job. It is redoing his slight Big Brother strategy of being bad at challenges, although he did win one. But like that is a smart strategy. It's a tightrope to walk. Yeah. But I think he pulled it off well. But I just think he just couldn't rally the troops around him as much as he really needed to, and then Letty not supporting him and putting him in there really screwed him over.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta, it really, a lot of the blood is on Letty's hands there for not giving him a chance to do it.
She loses a number that is like the more of these numbers dwindle down, and she's already lost CK, she's now lost Will. Like that alliance is dwindling. The family's just going to get stronger. This could end up being a steamroll depending on how this plays out.
Yeah, and I think just for Letty, just trying to consider her game, like putting Dr. Will up to face the banker. Like, you got to get rid of Dr. Will eventually. And if he goes out here, oh, well, it sucks that you lost an alliance member, but it's not like, you look like a jerk, doing this and, pulling some kind of scam here. It's just, just the way the game goes.
Yeah. And that's the frustrating part is like, okay, worst case scenario, Dr. Will makes a bad deal and loses. That is what pretty much happens, with Dr. Will going home, but you don't give yourself the optimal situation of either Dickson or David going home.
Yeah, and that Dr. Will for sure is going to go out. Dr. Will is not going to target Lachelle. Dr. Will is not going to target Seychelle. Dr. Will is going to get rid of Dickson, who he's already called a creepy, weird child.
Well, in this one, his only choices were Dickson and David.
Right. There were. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm getting my bankers' temples mixed up. That's why I think there should only be one bankers' temple per episode.
I agree.
But yeah, you can trust Doctor. It's weird. I was about to say you can trust Dr. Will to do the right thing. You can trust Dr. Will to do the right thing here in this specific situation for himself with the guardrails there. Of he can only go after someone you already want gone. So like, there's really no reason not to. Like, it's just,
this is where production needs to take over and just be like, Dr. Will's playing. I'm sorry, you do not have a position.
Yeah,
like they needed to intervene with how poorly some of these people are playing.
Yeah,
but man, I'm just so bummed that he's gone, and it really does feel like the season just shit. Like I'm obviously still happy to see Parvati and David and see this, but like the game is just, it takes a big dive in entertainment value because of all this.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how they pick up the pieces, but man, it was a tough blow.
Yeah. Well, I think you can, like you said, we still have Harvey, we still have David, we still have some interesting stuff going on still, even without Dr. Will. Would love to see Dr. Will there. You know, I love to see him on TV too. But
I'm
you
hoping we
know,
still get him for a legit trader season.
you know, let's talk about it, because Dr. Will, when he goes home, says, you know, you're not gonna have Dr. Will to kick around anymore. I'm retiring from reality TV. Is this for real? Can we trust Dr. Will here? Is he officially
Uh,
retired?
I do think so, just because he had what 20 something years in between playing, and so and I get that traders is about 2 weeks of time, but it's what 300 grand and everything.
Mhm.
Like I don't think you're getting Dr. Will to come out there and play. So I do think unless there's some kind of crazy situation, which I just can't really fathom right now, I think we're done with Dr. Will, which is such a bummer to see.
Mm. I think we are probably done with Dr. Will, although I will say that, like, I think he can get him back. You just need to pay whatever price, you know. It's just
Yeah,
it's just a matter of finding the right check.
well, the thing is, if you're smart, like pay his appearance fee, like pay double it. Like he is just going to bring entertainment value, and
Mhm.
he might not last long, but like get him on your screen, and like I think that's what these reality shows are realizing is we've created these kind of reality show stars and everything. We got to pay that appearance fee.
Mhm, mhm. And very much worth it, I think, at least
Yeah,
with Dr.
they got
Will
all the
here.
money in the world. Come on.
Yeah. It, you know, I don't hate David. Like, it was enjoyable watching him play the banker. You know, like
It
not
was
the
a different
worst.
side of his personality and
Yeah,
everything, and yeah, he's entertaining, but I mean, he's no Dr. Will
he is
either.
no Dr. Will. That is true. And David makes a good deal here. Thought it was very cute that it was 999,999. The makeup
Yeah,
for that
and
$1.
yeah, and it was a good deal. He did a good job, and I mean, he made the obvious move, especially after Will called him out about being a potential winner of a reality show. Like, and he's such a threat. I mean, it was such an obvious move for any. Like, I really hope that it was deceptive editing because if Letty ever thought that he was actually going to live up to that deal, she's crazy and almost as bad as CK as a game player.
Yeah. I don't know about deceptive editing, but I do feel like with this show in particular, like so much winds up on the cutting room floor,
Yeah,
because they're like, especially with this episode where we've got two bankers' temples to deal with, we've got a challenge in the middle. There's very little room for stuff that isn't just like
yeah. So
going through the
we probably
motions of the gameplay.
yeah, we lost because there's what like 45 minutes of actual screen time,
Yeah,
and
like
we lost.
42.
Yeah, we lost about what 7 to 10 minutes of that because of how they held over the episode, and we didn't get that proper send off for Will. Like, I knew Will was going home pretty. Once they picked David, I was fairly sure, and
Yeah.
I thought Dr. Will should have gotten a little bit more of a not be the second person kicked off of an episode kind of thing, a little more spotlight.
Yeah. Well, if you do want a little bit more of Dr. Will, I will recommend his interview with Boston Rob. Watched that earlier today, and it's cute that they're reality TV buddies. It's like seeing two reality TV narcissists meet up and like, oh man, I love your game. Oh, we should meet up when call me when you're in LA. It's just
I mean, they are probably the two biggest stars of the early aughts of their respective. I mean, big time shows and everything. So that
yeah.
is like the meeting of the minds.
The Survivor great meets the Big Brother great. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Um, uh, anyway, so where is the game going from here, Lance?
I'm worried we're getting a family steamroll right now
It's
because
looking
I,
more like that, right?
I do think, like, say Letty gets power again, is she targeting the family or is she targeting CK? Like, I think the to go off of your point, like, I definitely could see CK going further just because she has nobody and
Mhm.
you kind of want to take those people with you and everything. But it just feels like she could either join the family. I can't really see Letty and Philip going after him, but they have been dropping these little nuggets of Philip kind of turning on Parvati. So I
Mhm.
could see Philip eventually taking out a Parvati, but right now it seems like a steamroll for that. And Parvati could be like the way it's being edited and everything. This could be a winning game for her.
Yeah, I think we're going to wind up with a mix. Once we get to the end, a little bit of the family, a little bit of the homewreckers,
Yeah,
as we've
of
been
course.
calling the anti-alliance.
Great name.
Yeah. And I think it's like I said, like it's people like Parvati, I think, on that side, maybe David, who might get knocked out. I think Dickson can make it probably to the end, because like it's just like who is going to, unless like he's your only choice, like who's going to waste it on him if they're like a bigger targets out there, like
Yeah, it really comes down to they shouldn't make so many people safe, in my opinion, especially as we get further down. Like, there should not be a thing where only two people are available to
yeah.
eliminate and everything. But I do think I mentioned in the last episode we talked about. I think David's in a good spot. I still think he's in a really good spot
Mhm.
because, but it really comes down to who is eligible because I think Parvati's going to. If it's Parvati and David, you're taking out Parvati before, and Dixon's made more
Yeah.
enemies.
Yeah.
But eventually, like you keeping David around for some of these physical eliminations and to get more money and everything. But eventually, you got to take him out. But I do feel like he's in a pretty good spot with Dickson annoying people and Parvati just being such a threat and a survivor winner and everything.
Yeah. David's biggest problem is just going to be the potential for him being a physical threat at the end,
Yes.
because the final as assuming that this end game works similarly to the way the season 1 end game goes, the final four is going to battle it out in challenges to see who wins.
Yeah.
And that's
I
not
could see him
that's
being that fifth person out.
and he is jacked and he is ripped and he is fantastic in challenges, and I would not want to go against him for the money, even if I am working with him. So I think that is the biggest thing that he has going against him, and I think that's the thing that like CK has going for her and Dickson has going for him, is that we're starting to get into that end game. There are not a lot of opportunities to get rid of people from now on, and CK is not someone you can trust. No one can trust her, but CK is not someone you got to worry about at the end. CK is
Yeah.
someone I am very confident that I could beat CK in any challenge on that show.
Right. Well, that's yeah. And we're starting to get towards the end game now. So you're going to want to get rid of the Davids. You're going to want to
Mhm.
get rid of Letty because
Oh, for
she's
sure.
been in
Yeah.
power 3 times.
Lete isn't, she is in huge trouble. I
Yeah.
think she is the one in the most trouble over there on that home record
Yeah.
side. The moment
Philip.
she is vulnerable, she's gone.
Yeah. Philip's a physical guy. But the one thing on my radar is when do Parvati and David turn on each other? Because, like you mentioned, if you're Parvati, you want to cut them before that final four. And
Yeah.
eventually, like obviously, you keep them now, but we're getting to the point where they're going to have to start turning on each other for that end game.
Yeah, I think it's going to. I think it depends on whether or not there's an opportunity, because there's no guarantee that either of them will be in power, and there's no guarantee that even if they are, that the other will be vulnerable and
Right.
be allowed to be selected. Like it's really tough. So like I think the best thing that if you're thinking about your Parvati and you don't want to go to the end with David, like you got to think about like, how can I use other people to get David out? Like she really can't do it herself. And I don't think she necessarily wants to do it herself, because she has the most adorable survivor crush on him, which is like the opposite of what a Parvati season usually is. Cause it's like everyone has a crush on Parvati, but like he like the golden god of Survivor Australia, and like he loves her too for the same reason. Like they just have like this relationship built on good game.
Yeah, I would have been interested to see them if David wasn't married. If David was single, how would that change their dynamics and everything? Because she
Mhm.
can now do the flirty, we get along kind of thing without having to be this Black Widow and stuff. And that's just more a mature Parvati and everything. But it really would have been interesting if she kind of was able to flex the more conniving, this guy is now a single person kind of thing. That would
Yeah.
have been really interesting. But
Yeah.
I mean, she adapts well and she plays well and she's having a stronger game. This is more her thing than a traders.
Yeah, she is doing, a traders is a tough just a tough show for someone like Parvati, because even if traitor or not, sooner or later people are going to target you, because that's just a story of Parvati's game. Like I was talking with my boyfriend last night about who might come back for Survivor 50 when they do their all returnee season to celebrate that anniversary. And I mentioned that, like, Parvati is such a huge part of like that middle early era of Survivor, starting in, season 12 or 13, whatever it is that she starts at, and go through, heroes versus villains, where she plays, well, I guess not last because she came back for Winners at War, but like every time she plays, like her target level is higher than the last time, and people are like really wanting to get her out like immediately. And I don't know that that's going to be like interesting to watch a Parvati come back on Survivor, just because like she would be such a huge target. And
Yeah,
that's
I can't see from what I've read. I don't think they're going to do any winners either.
yeah.
And I think I remember from Winners at War that she pretty much retired from that Survivor. Obviously, she might be going on another Survivor,
No.
but yeah, I can't see her. And if, I do think they should have some people that played in the 39-day seasons, so we get some kind of we can see them, compare the 26 and 39 days. To me, I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So, but I don't, no winners, nobody that was on Winners at War. Like, get somebody interesting. Like, I almost want it like to be like a second chances, game changers kind of way to do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're getting into the Survivor stuff here, but I love it. I'm thinking like the people I want to see come back. Like I wouldn't mind seeing some winners, but if I'm going to see a couple winners, I want it to be like the winners I haven't seen come back and play.
Right.
Yet. Like
Yeah.
people like maybe like a Cochran, who
Yeah.
like he'd be very interesting to see. Like Todd, the winner of Survivor China. Like we haven't seen him play since he won that season. I think there are a lot of good opportunities to bring back winners that which we haven't seen in a while. But like, I love the idea of like bringing back just like people who just like, they haven't won, or it's kind of like a second chance. Like I don't need it to be like sixth chances and seventh chances.
Exactly.
I don't want to see Boston Rob, but like,
yeah. I will say, if they are going to bring back somebody for multiple times, I'd love to see Penner back for 50. I think Penner would be a great choice for 50.
How about Mike White?
I would love that. Mike White was robbed. He should have won his season, David and Goliath.
Yeah.
If he can, fit it in between White Lotus seasons, I would love that.
Yeah, well, now everybody on that season is in White Lotus, so
exactly. I also think it's almost like a undercover pitch. It's like, hey, if you team up with me, you're going to be on White Lotus.
Do you know
that's
not bad. That's not bad. A lot of I think a lot of people could buy into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you get, if you're Natalie or Carl, you can, apparently they're going to get some speaking lines in future episodes, but you get a trip out to Thailand and everything. That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. So this Survivor talk, listen, if you like this Survivor talk, a new season of Survivor is starting next week. We are almost there. And for sure, we are going to be podcasting about that and talking because we love that show.
Yeah. This was a little preview of the Survivor Bros back in action.
A little preview. Yeah. I like that. A little something for a little clip for the YouTubes. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So back to Deal or No Deal Island here. Is there anything else in this episode that really stood out to you that you want to talk about, Lance?
No, I am still in mourning. I am so sad. It was really dominated by my sadness over Dr. Will. So anything else that happened doesn't even register to me. Not on the radar. This was a funeral for Dr. Will, and I will miss him.
Yep.
But we'll always have Big Brother 2 and Big Brother 7 and these 5 or 6 episodes that he was on.
Well, he will almost certainly be on the final episode, as long as he's still allowed to be on the island for that. I don't know if he'll throw a tantrum again or something, but all the
if I'm him, I'm getting out, I'm going back and lasering away.
Yeah, all the people who have been kicked off the show come back to be in the audience for the final playing Deal or No Deal, to root on whoever is going to win. To root on Seychelle as she tries to win $7.6 million.
I mean, Seychelle's definitely making to the end game.
I think she is too. Yeah, because no one's taking her out. Like, why would anyone waste power to get rid of her? Like,
exactly.
Yeah. She's safe as can be. But yeah, so I think that about wraps this up. Like I said, I mentioned it before, the Dr. Will interview with Boston Rob is absolutely fantastic. I'll link it.
I'm going to check it out.
I'll link it here so that our listeners can can check that out and watch that. But really, really interesting hearing him talk about his game and, you know, what parts were real and what parts were fake. And apparently that little tantrum he had was actually him having a tantrum that he worked into his game later. Very, very fascinating listen. And you know what's another fascinating listen, Lance?
Oh, tell me.
The Trader Bros, which is our other podcast that we are doing right now about that fantastic Peacock reality TV show. So if you liked listening to us here talk about Deal or No Deal Island, please listen to us talk about the Traders. We'd love to have you there, and we'd also love to have you like this video and podcast and subscribe to it wherever you are listening to it right now. That would help us out, and it will guarantee you, maybe not guarantee you, increase the likelihood that we'll meet again someday to give you even more fantastic insights about this ridiculous game. Anyway, that wraps us up for this week. We'll be back here next week, of course, to talk more Deal or No Deal Island and more Traders and more Survivor, or Survivor for the first time in like 5 years. We've been talking about,
and maybe even some Love is Blind. We got to fit that in.
Yes. So we are definitely talking about Love is Blind. We postponed, had to postpone an episode of Love is Blind because of Valentine's Day. Real life love got in the way, Lance.
It's not blind to you.
Yeah. Well, I was a little bit more successful at finding love than some of those people on the show, but we'll save that for the pod.
Absolutely.
Anyway, an absolute pleasure talking with you, Lance, and an absolute pleasure talking for you people watching and listening. See you here next week. Bye-bye.